I'll never forget this story my mom always tells. You know, a few years ago she had a friend whose son went to a private school in the area. Cost around $15,000 per year. And this friend snuck my mom into their school's college applications fair. And you know, they listened to talks from NASA engineers, they talked with college admissions officers. But what was most eye-opening for my mom was when they found out what was going on behind the scenes with the actual college counselors of the school. They explained that once students could tell them their prospective schools where they were looking to apply, they would use their personal connections, old friends, extended family, and personally contact their friends in the admissions office of that school, put in a good word for their students. And you know, my mom was floored. I come from a school where we don't even have the resources for a single college counselor, let alone any network of nepotism to be this size. And so, while the private school kids, already affluent enough to be paying thousands of dollars per year for high school, were receiving all these resources, not just personal recommendations to colleges, but wealthy alumni scholarships or their expert advising. The low-income students in my district were faced with little choice other than to take out debilitating loans for college. You know, just recently, I was talking with some friends I met in the Penn State Schreier Honors College with me. And you know, it just kind of casually came out that they had spent thousands of dollars on essay coaches for their honors application. You know, before that, thousands of dollars on ACT, SAT, tutoring, and courses. And I was floored. I mean, if you had even mentioned the word essay coach in my hometown, you would have been laughed at, questioned what it was altogether. And you know, we get a lot of opportunities at the Penn State Honors College. We get priority scheduling, we get yearly scholarships, full grants to study abroad, guaranteed on-campus housing, alumni connections. And so I looked at the people around me who had a few minutes prior been talking about their vacation houses and luxury cars, yet had received one of the very few scholarships Penn State has to offer. It's a common misconception today that while the rich go to school without any financial burden, the poor go for free with aid, and it's really only the middle class that's wronged. And this could not be more incorrect. Let's look at the federal form of need-based aid, the Pell Grant. Given mainly to students whose families make under $20,000 a year, families living, struggling to put food on the table, living paycheck to paycheck. In the past, the Pell Grant covered around 67% of college costs. Today, only 27%. What about the universities themselves? Few universities offer full rides to low-income students, with those few being very prestigious universities. Take Stanford, for example. They were recently just commended for their policy giving a full ride to students whose families make under $100,000 a year. Seems great, right? But when you look at these demographics, how much room is left for low-income underprivileged students? Less than 4% of admits. Less than 4% of admits who are still required to meet the same academic standards despite not having parents involved in their education, despite not having the essay coaches, the tutors, or the accelerated course options, and despite having to work a job starting in middle school or high school. And even if those students somehow defied the odds, somehow met those same test scores, whatnot, those students are still 34% less likely to get admitted than a student in the top 1%. Because of the disparities in the American education system, a clear divide is established between lower and upper class students as early as kindergarten age. The lower class students don't receive anywhere close to sufficient amounts of the need-based aid that they require, but instead fall victim to a merit-based system that disproportionately favors the already rich and connected. Because these systems are designed to be equal and not equitable, those underprivileged low-income students are pushed into a never-ending cycle of debt. And you know, for the privileged in society today, it is so easy to criticize those programs that prioritize the admission of underrepresented or underprivileged students. Argue that they're taking away the spot of a student who actually earned it. In reality, those students are still required to meet the same academic standards, the same test scores, despite having none of the resources that any of these other privileged students had growing up. But let's imagine they did it. Let's imagine they defied the impossible, despite their childhood, despite their upbringing. That scholarship could be taken away with a phone call to an old friend. Thanks.